My name is Claire Donovan, and I never planned on raising a child. But I became a mother the night my best friend dropped her asthmatic 8-year-old son on my doorstep with a duffel bag and a lie. Years later, when she showed up at his college graduation talking about second chances, I handed him the keys to the car I had just paid off and said, "Give them to the woman who stayed." He did not even hesitate. He walked past her, and she stood there in her heels on the concrete sidewalk, unraveling in front of everyone. Tell me where you are watching from in the comments. Have you ever loved someone long enough to watch them choose someone else, and then been the one left holding what they abandoned? Let me take you back to the night it started. It was a Thursday. Chicago cold, the kind that crawls under your coat and settles into your bones. I was halfway through grading essays at my kitchen table when someone knocked on my apartment door. Not buzzed. Knocked. Sharp.
Urgent.
I knew before I opened it. It was Natalie. She stood there flushed and breathless, mascara smudged like she had been crying or laughing too hard. Behind her, on the sidewalk, sat a navy blue duffel bag and a small boy hugging himself against the wind. "Claire," she said too brightly, "I need a favor." Her son, Owen, looked smaller than I remembered. His inhaler dangled from his jacket pocket by a string. His curls were damp from melted snow. "It is 9:30, I said. "What is going on?" She stepped inside without answering. "He has his meds in the side pocket. The nebulizer is in there too." I labeled everything. "Natalie. It is just for a few days," she rushed. "I have to fly to Denver. Corporate retreat thing. You know how my boss is. Mandatory." Her boss. I had heard that name too often lately. Late night strategy meetings. Weekend team building. Text she smiled at and tilted away from me. Owen started coughing. Not dramatic. Not loud. Just that tight, dry sound that makes your chest squeeze in sympathy. I dropped to my knees in front of him. "Hey, buddy." He tried to smile. It did not quite land. Natalie glanced at her phone. "You did not tell me you were leaving town," I said slowly. It came up fast. "Claire, please. I cannot miss this. It is big for me." "For you," I repeated. She bristled. "Do not do that." "Do what?" "Make me feel guilty for wanting more." Owen's breathing grew thinner, faster. I reached for his inhaler and guided it to his lips. "You are not guilty for wanting more," I said quietly. "You are guilty for leaving him." Her jaw tightened. "You do not understand what it is like to feel stuck," she snapped. "You do not have a kid. You have freedom." Freedom. I looked at the little boy trying not to wheeze in my hallway. "Then take him with you." She laughed once, sharp. "It is not that kind of trip." There it was. The truth sitting between us like something rotten. "You are not going to Denver," I said. She did not answer. A car horn beeped outside. She turned toward the door. "Natalie." She picked up the duffel and shoved it toward me. "I will send money," she said quickly. "Just please. I need this. I need to feel alive again." Owen's fingers curled into my sleeve. I felt it then. That shift. The moment something stops being temporary. "You are coming back Sunday?" I asked. "Of course," she said, already stepping into the hallway. "Do not be dramatic." The door closed. And just like that, it was quiet. Except for Owen's breathing. I carried the duffel inside and set it by the couch. He walked in slowly, like he had done this before. Like he knew how to make himself small. "You want to sit?" I asked gently. He nodded. I set up the nebulizer while he climbed onto the couch and curled his legs underneath him. The machine hummed to life, soft mist clouding around his face. The kitchen light flickered overhead. "You okay?" I asked. He gave a tiny shrug. "She said it is important," he whispered through the mask. My throat tightened. "Yeah," I said softly. "That is what she said." He did not cry. He did not ask when she would be back. He just leaned into the cushions and focused on breathing. I sat on the floor beside him. The timer read 14 minutes. I stared at the second hand, ticking down. This was not the first time I had babysat, but it was the first time she had not looked back when she left. When the treatment ended, I tucked a blanket around him. "Hungry?" I asked. "A little." I made grilled cheese. Burned the first one. Tried again. He ate slowly at the kitchen table, careful, like he did not want to inconvenience the chair. Do you miss her when she travels? I asked before I could stop myself. He stared at his plate. She says I worry too much, he answered. That was not what I had asked. But it told me everything. You do not have to worry here, I said. He looked up at me then. His eyes were tired in a way kids' eyes should not be. Are you sure? I reached across the table and covered his hand. I am sure. That night, after he fell asleep on my couch clutching a stuffed dinosaur, missing one eye, I stood in my kitchen and called her. She did not answer. I called again. Voicemail. I tried one more time. This time she picked up. Music blared in the background. Laughter. A man's voice. Claire, she sang. We just landed. Where? A pause. Denver. No, you did not. Another laugh. Okay, fine. Aspen. It was a surprise. He wanted to spoil me. Your son had an asthma episode, I said flatly. He is with you. He is fine. Natalie. Do not start. You left him. I needed a break. You are his mother. And you are my best friend, she shot back. Is that not what best friends do? Show up. I gripped the edge of the counter, so hard my knuckles went white. You are coming back Sunday, I said. Silence. Then softer, almost amused. Claire. I do not think I am. The words hit like ice water. What does that mean? It means I am choosing something different. For once. You are abandoning him. No, she said lightly. I am trusting you. The line went dead. I stood there in the dark kitchen, phone pressed to my ear long after the call ended. Trusting you. I slid down against the cabinets and covered my mouth so I would not sob loud enough to wake him. Because in the living room on my old pull-out couch was a little boy who needed to breathe. And whether I wanted it or not, I was the one who was staying. The next morning, Owen woke before I did. I found him sitting cross-legged on the living room floor, inhaler in one hand, remote in the other, volume low like he was afraid to disturb the walls. You didn't have to be quiet, I said, rubbing sleep from my eyes. He glanced up. Mom doesn't like noise in the morning. Something inside me shifted again. Well, I said, forcing a smile. I do. Especially coffee noises. That earned the faintest curve of his mouth. I made pancakes. They were uneven and slightly undercooked in the middle, but he ate two anyway. Scale of 1 to 10? I asked. He considered it seriously. 6. 6. I gasped. That's brutal. They're kinda squishy. Squishy is gourmet. He almost laughed. Almost. After breakfast, I called Natalie again. Straight to voicemail. I texted. He needs you. No response. By Sunday night, I knew. She wasn't coming back. Monday morning, I called the school. This is Claire Donovan, I said carefully. I'm helping care for Owen Harris for a few days. The secretary hesitated. We'll need something in writing from his mother. I'm working on it, I said. I wasn't, because Natalie had stopped answering altogether. 3 days turned into a week. A week turned into 2. Owen stopped asking when she'd be home. Instead, he asked where the extra blankets were. If he could keep his toothbrush by my sink. If my Wi-Fi password always ended with an exclamation point. Small questions. Permanent ones. The first real scare happened on a Wednesday night. Cold air had rolled in hard, and even with the humidifier running, his breathing tightened fast. I woke to the sound of him coughing from the couch. Not the light kind. The deep, panicked kind. I was beside him in seconds. Hey, breathe slow, I murmured, already setting up the nebulizer. His hands were shaking. I can't, he whispered. You can. Look at me. He locked onto my eyes like I was something solid in a storm. Inhale. Hold. Good. Again. The machine hummed. 10 minutes in, his shoulders relaxed. 15 minutes in, his color returned. When it was over, he leaned into me without thinking. And I wrapped my arms around him, without hesitating. You stayed, he said quietly against my sweatshirt. The words were simple, but they shattered me. Of course I did, I whispered, as if there had ever been another option. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Temporary guardianship paperwork isn't glamorous. It's forms and fees and uncomfortable questions. Where's the mother? The attorney asked. Traveling, I said at first. Then I stopped lying. She left. Owen sat beside me during the appointment, swinging his legs, flipping through a legal pad like it was a coloring book.
He didn't complain.
Didn't fidget. Didn't ask if she'd signed anything. He just stayed close. 2 months later, Natalie sent a single text.
He better be okay. No hello. No apology.
I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back. He's stable.
He misses you.
3 dots appeared, then disappeared. No reply. Life didn't explode. It narrowed. I rearranged my apartment to fit 2. Moved my desk into the corner. Gave him my bedroom and took the pull-out couch. Picked up extra freelance projects after work. I learned which generic inhaler brand was cheapest, which pharmacy gave reward points, which foods triggered flare-ups.
We built routines.
Homework at the kitchen table. Medication check at 8. Storytime at 9, even when he insisted he was too old. One night, as he read aloud from a science book far above his grade level, I noticed something. He wasn't just memorizing facts. He was understanding them,
Connecting them.
explaining them back to me. You're really good at this, I said. At what? Thinking. He frowned slightly. Mom says I overthink. No, I said firmly. You're observant. That's different. He looked down at the page. She says I'm a lot. I closed the book gently. You are, I agreed. His face fell. A lot of good. I finished. A lot of smart. A lot of heart. He studied me like he was checking for sarcasm. Finding none. He nodded slowly. We started going to the clinic together every 3 months. Dr. Patel became part of our world. She's consistent, the doctor said during one visit, glancing at me. Whatever you're doing, it's helping. Stability. That word again. It felt foreign and earned all at once. The night the official guardianship papers came through, I didn't tell Owen right away. I just tucked them into the drawer beside my bed. Because it wasn't about legality anymore. It was about presence. Still, when I finally explained it to him, he listened carefully. So you're like officially in charge? He asked. Only if you're okay with that. He thought for a second, then nodded. Okay. That was it.
No fireworks. No tears.
Just quiet agreement. On his 9th birthday, Natalie didn't call. I told myself I expected that. Still, I kept my phone face up on the counter all day. It never lit up. We celebrated anyway. Cupcakes from the grocery store. A second-hand telescope he'd been eyeing for weeks. That night, we dragged blankets onto the fire escape and looked at the sky. Which one's Mars? He asked. Probably the one that looks confident, I teased. He laughed. Actually laughed. The sound was different now. Fuller. Like it belonged somewhere. I like it here, he said after a while. I swallowed. I like you here. He didn't say thank you. He just leaned his head against my shoulder and kept staring at the stars. And I realized something I hadn't allowed myself to think before. This wasn't temporary. This wasn't babysitting. This was parenting. Not because she left,
But because I stayed.
Money became a quiet background character in our lives. Not dramatic. Not desperate. Just constant. I stopped ordering takeout. Canceled streaming subscriptions. Took on late-night editing jobs after Owen fell asleep. He started noticing. You work a lot, he said one evening, watching me type at the kitchen table. I like working, I replied. That's not what I meant. He was 10, but sometimes he sounded 40. I smiled. We're okay. And we were.
Just barely.
That winter was the hardest. Flu season hit early, and respiratory cases flooded the clinic. Every cough at school felt like a threat. Every weather change meant adjusting medications. One afternoon, the nurse called. He had a minor episode during recess, she said. We handled it, but you might want to pick him up. I left work without thinking. When I arrived, Owen was sitting in the office, pale but upright. I told them I was fine, he muttered. I know. You didn't have to leave work. I wanted to. He studied my face. You always say that. Because it's true.
He didn't argue.
On the drive home, he rested his head against the window. I don't remember Mom coming to school, he said quietly. The words weren't bitter, just factual. I tightened my grip on the steering wheel. I'm here, I said. He nodded. I know. That night, I cried in the bathroom with the shower running so he wouldn't hear. Not because I resented him, but because I didn't. Because loving him had stopped feeling like a favor and started feeling like oxygen. And that terrified me. What if she came back? What if she decided she wanted him again? Legally, I had temporary guardianship. Emotionally, I had everything to lose. Spring came softer. His episodes became less frequent. Dr. Patel adjusted his treatment plan. He's responding well, she said. Consistency makes a difference. Consistency. I held on to that word like it was currency. On his 11th birthday, something changed. He didn't wish for toys. He asked for a science camp brochure he had found online. It's expensive, I said gently. I know, he replied quickly. It's okay. I just wanted to show you. I saw the way his fingers lingered on the page. The way his eyes lit up when he talked about robotics and astrophysics. That night, after he fell asleep, I filled out the application anyway. Then I took on 3 extra projects. I stopped replacing my worn-out shoes. I pretended I didn't notice the crack in my phone screen spreading. 2 months later, the acceptance email arrived.
Partial scholarship.
Still not enough. I stared at the remaining balance for a long time. Then, I transferred the money from my emergency fund. When I told him, he blinked at me.
Wait.
I can go. Yes. But it costs. I know what it costs. His throat moved like he was trying not to cry. You don't have to do that. I want to. He looked down at his hands. Why? It wasn't suspicion. It was confusion. Because somewhere along the way, he had learned that love was temporary. I crouched in front of him.
Because you matter, I said.
Your future matters. He stared at me for a long second. Then, he did something he hadn't done in years. He wrapped both arms around my neck and held on tight. I'll make it worth it, he whispered. You already are. Camp changed him. He came back taller somehow. More confident. Talking about prototypes and mentors and staying up late debating space exploration. For the first time, I saw him imagine a life bigger than survival. And I realized that was the real gift. Not the camp. The permission to dream. When he turned 12, Natalie finally called. Not a text. A call. I almost didn't answer. But I did. Hey, she said, like we had spoken yesterday. My chest tightened. How's he doing? He's doing well. A pause. I might be back in town for a bit, she continued casually. Thought maybe I'd see him. There it was. The thing I had feared. I glanced toward Owen's bedroom, where music played softly through the door. When? I asked. Next week, maybe. And after that? Silence. I don't know, she admitted. I closed my eyes. You can't drift in and out, I said carefully. He's not a weekend plan. She exhaled sharply. You're acting like I abandoned him. The audacity almost made me laugh. You did, I said quietly. Another pause. He was too much, she snapped. You don't know what it's like. I thought of hospital nights, of paperwork, of working until 2 a.m., of fire escape stargazing. I do know, I said. And he's not too much. She went quiet. I'll text, she muttered before hanging up. I stood there for a long time, phone still in my hand. Owen appeared in the hallway. Was that her? I nodded. He didn't ask what she had said. He just leaned against the wall. Is she coming back? I don't know.
He absorbed that.
Then he surprised me. It's okay if she doesn't, he said. I swallowed. You sure? He looked at me steadily. You stayed. 3 words. Again. but heavier now. More certain. In that moment, I understood something clearly. Being a parent isn't about biology. It's about endurance. About showing up when it's inconvenient. About choosing someone over and over again until they believe they're worth choosing.
And he did believe it now.
Because I had made sure of it. Natalie didn't text the next week. Or the week after. No running late. No, something came up. Just silence. Owen didn't ask again. And that was somehow worse. Middle school hit him like it hits most kids. Awkward and fast. He shot up 3 inches in a summer. His voice cracked at the worst possible moments. He pretended he didn't care about things he cared deeply about. But academically, he soared. Science fairs became our new normal. The first year, he built a model lung system that demonstrated airflow restriction during asthma attacks. It won second place. He shrugged like it didn't matter. But that night, I found the ribbon under his pillow. At 13, he qualified for a regional robotics competition. At 14, he started tutoring other kids in math. Why do you help them? I asked once. He looked genuinely confused. Because no one helped me. The simplicity of that answer stayed with me. High school came with new challenges. Stress triggered flare-ups. Late nights meant inhaler checks. But his episodes were fewer now. Manageable. Predictable. Stable. There was that word again. One evening during sophomore year, I found him sitting at the kitchen table long after midnight. College brochures were spread everywhere. You should be asleep, I said gently. I know. He didn't look up. Scholarships don't write themselves. I leaned against the doorway. You don't have to carry everything alone. He finally met my eyes. I know. A small smile. But I watched you. That was the first time I understood that he had been paying attention all along. Not just to my presence. To my sacrifices. To the way I kept choosing him. Junior year, he got into a prestigious summer research program. Full scholarship. When the acceptance email came, he just stared at the screen. You did it, I whispered. He shook his head slowly. We did. Senior year was a blur of applications and essays. The night the big one came, the university he dreamed about since science camp, I made him open the portal himself. He hesitated. What if it's a no? Then we pivot, I said. Like we always do. He clicked. Silence. Then a sharp inhale. Hands over his mouth. Claire, he breathed. I got in. Full academic scholarship. Room and board covered. Research grant attached. I didn't realize I was crying until he pulled me into a hug. You don't have to work extra anymore, he said into my shoulder. I laughed through tears. I might not know how to stop. Graduation day came faster than I was ready for. As he walked across that stage, tall, confident, steady, I thought about the first night on my couch. The shaking hands. The nebulizer humming in the dark. You stayed, he had said. And now he was standing on his own. After the ceremony, while families crowded the lawn for pictures, someone said my name. I turned. And there she was. Natalie. She looked older. Polished in a way that felt distant. For a second, I didn't recognize her. Hi, she said softly. Owen stiffened beside me. You came, he said. She nodded, eyes glossy. I didn't want to miss this. I watched him carefully. This was his moment, not mine. She stepped closer. You look amazing, she told him. Thanks. An awkward pause. Then she looked at me. You did good, she said. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't gratitude. But it was something. Owen glanced between us. I need to take pictures with Claire, he said calmly. She raised me. The words weren't sharp. They were factual. Natalie's face flickered. But she stepped back. Of course. Later, as we stood alone near the bleachers, she spoke quietly. I was drowning back then, she admitted. I didn't know how to be what he needed. I studied her for a long moment. You could have tried, I said. She nodded. I know. There were 1,000 things I could have added. Anger I could have unpacked. But looking at Owen laughing with his friends in the distance, none of it felt necessary. Because the story had already been written. By actions. not excuses. That evening, after the celebration dinner, Owen handed me a folded envelope. "What's this?" I asked. "Open it." Inside was a printed copy of his college orientation schedule, and beneath it a small card. "Emergency contact. Claire Donovan." I blinked. "You put me first?" I asked quietly. He smiled. "Where else would you be?" The house felt different that night. Boxes half-packed. Future looming. But not heavy. Earned. As I stood in the hallway outside his room, soon to be empty, I felt something settle in my chest. Not relief. Not sadness. Something steadier.
Pride.
Because loving him hadn't been a burden. It had been a privilege. And if I had to do it all over again, the couch, the hospital nights, the extra shifts, the fear, I would. Every single time.